Hello students, my name is Pranav and I'll be your chess mentor. Okay, so today let's learn about chess. Chess is a two players game where one player plays with the white pieces and another plays with the black pieces. Okay, the game of chess has two main elements. The first one is a chessboard and another one is pieces. Okay, now we will first learn everything about the board and then we will move on to the pieces. Now this is how a chessboard looks like. Can you see these teeny tiny squares over here? There are total 64 such squares. Okay, so there are total 64 squares on the chessboard, out of which 32 are light squares and 32 are dark squares. Okay, now can you see the standing lines over here? These are called files. These are called files. For example, this is file A, this is file B, this is file C. Can you tell me which file is this? Correct, it's a F file. Which file is this? H file. Very good. Now, there are total 8 files on the chessboard from A to H. Okay, the name of every file is written here on the bottom of the chessboard. Okay, now similarly, can you see the sleeping lines over here? These are called ranks. Okay, these are called ranks. For example, this is rank 1, this is rank 2, this is rank 3. Can you tell me which rank is this? Yes, rank 6. Good. Which rank is this? Rank 8. Perfect. Okay, so on chessboard there are total 8 ranks from 1 to 8. Okay, and all the rank names are written here on the right side of the board. Clear? Okay, now each of the 64 square have their own name. Okay, each of the 64 square has a unique name. Now how to find out that name? Let's say if I want to find out the name of this square. Okay, it is simple. What I'll do, I'll just go down, look at the file name, go to the right, look at the rank number, and I'll just add them up. For example, here the name of this square will be D5. Okay, the name of this square will be D5. Always remember, we write the file name first and then the rank number. Okay, don't call it 5D, it's a D5. Now similarly, if I want to know the name of this square, I will just look down. It is file F and it's a rank 7. So the name of this square will be F7. Understood? Okay, let's have one more example. Let's say this square. So the name of this square will be, go down, look at the file name, go to the right, look at the rank number and combine them. So this square will be B3. Okay, clear? Now similarly, can you tell me the name of this square? Yes, B7. Correct. Can you tell me the name of this square? G2. Correct. Okay, so that was all about the board. Okay, in board we learned about the files, ranks and the squares name. Now let's move on to the pieces. Okay, this is king. King is the most important piece on the chessboard. This is queen. Queen is the most powerful piece on the chessboard. This is rook. R-O-O-K, rook. The another name for rook is castle. This is bishop. B-I-S-H-O-P, bishop. This is knight. It looks like a horse, but we call it a knight. And this is the smallest piece on the chessboard, pawn. Okay, pawn. P-A-W-N, pawn. Now, in order to know which piece is bigger and which piece is smaller, we have points for each of the piece. Okay. For example, the point value of queen is 9. The point value of queen is 9. The point value of rook is 5. The point value of rook is 5. Bishop has 3 points. Bishop has 3 points. Similarly, knight also has 3 points. Knight also has 3 points. And the pawn has 1 point. Okay. The pawn has 1 point. Can you see the queen has 9 points, which is most amongst all? And therefore, queen is the strongest piece on the chessboard. Can you see the pawn has only 1 point, which is least amongst all? And therefore, the pawn is the smallest piece on the chessboard. Okay. Now, you may ask, sir, how many points the king has? But a king is priceless. Okay. King is the most important piece on the chessboard. King is priceless. We don't have any points for king. Okay. We have points only for the pieces that can get captured. Okay. King never get captures. King is only trapped, and that is the end of the game. It is called a checkmate. We will learn it in upcoming sessions. Okay. So that was all about the piece name and the point value. Okay. Now you guys know the name of each piece and the point value of each piece. Let's move on to the movement of each piece. How does the each piece moves? Okay. This is rook. Okay. And rook moves in a straight line. Rook moves in a straight line, which means I can take it up, I can take it down, I can take it to the right, and I can take it to the left. It moves in a straight line and it can take any number of steps. Okay. For example, if I have a rook here and if an opponent has a pawn here, I can directly capture this pawn in one move. If pawn would have been here, yes, I could have directly captured this pawn in one move. But let us say if pawn is here, can I capture this pawn in one move? No. Here, I will need 2 moves. First, I will take my rook to the right on the square G2, and then I will capture the pawn. Okay, students, can you find another way to capture this pawn? There is another way to capture this pawn. Yes, first we can take the rook up on C6, and then we can capture the pawn. Very good. Okay. Now, coming on to the bishop movement. Bishop moves in a slanting line, or we can also say bishop moves diagonally. So, bishop moves in a slanting line. Each team has 2 bishops. One is on the light square and another one is on dark square. Now, if you see carefully, the white bishop can move only in white squares. Okay. If you see, the white bishop can only move in white squares. Also, if you see, the dark squared bishop can move only in dark squares. Which brings us to the main conclusion that the light squared bishop can never come to a dark square, and a dark squared bishop can never come onto the light square. Okay. Now, for example, let us say there is a pawn here on G3. And if I wanted to know which of the bishops can capture this pawn, I just need to check the square of the pawn. Okay. The pawn is in a dark square, which means only this bishop will be able to capture the pawn. Okay, the light square bishop can never travel to a dark square, and hence this bishop will never be able to capture the pawn on g3. Okay, got it? Now, let's say if the bishop is here and the pawn is here, can I capture this pawn in one move? Yes, I can just take the bishop here and capture the pawn in one move, because bishop moves in slanting line and it can take any number of steps. Now let us assume if the pawn were here. Now can I capture the pawn in one move? No. But can I capture the pawn in multiple moves? Yes, because we have a light squared bishop and the pawn is also in a light square. So first the bishop will go here on f5 and then we can capture the pawn. Okay. Now moving on to the queen. Queen can move straight as well as in diagonal, or we can say in slanting line. Okay, queen can move straight as well as in slanting lines. Okay, which means queen is nothing but just the combination of a rook and a bishop. Queen is a combination of a rook and a bishop. Now let us say if the pawn is here, I can capture this pawn in one move, because queen can move in a slanting line and it can take any number of steps in one move. Even if the pawn were here, the queen could have captured it in one move. Okay. Now coming to the moment of king. How does the king moves? Okay. King can move in any direction but only one step. Okay. King can move in any direction but only one step. For example, if king is here, the king can move here, here, here. Okay. All the squares which are marked by the arrow are the squares where the king can move. Okay. Can the king move two steps? No. King can move only one step and in every direction. For example, if there is a pawn here, the king can capture it directly in one move. If the pawn were here, again, king could have captured the pawn directly in one move. Now let us say if the pawn was here, the king cannot capture the pawn in one move. It will need two moves. This is the first move and this is the second move. Okay. Okay. Now let's come on to the pawn movement. Okay. The pawn moves one step. Okay. The pawn moves one step in forward direction. Now here the thing is, if the pawn is in the starting square, okay, if the pawn is in the starting square, it can either move one step or two step. Okay, if the pawn is at the starting square, it can either move one step or two step. But once the pawn leaves the starting square, it can move only one step and only in forward direction. Okay, if pawn leaves the original square or the starting square, then it can move only one step and in forward direction. Let's say if pawn is here, the pawn cannot come back. No, the pawn cannot come back. One more thing to remember is pawn moves in a straight direction, but it captures diagonally. Okay, pawn moves in a straight direction, but it captures diagonally. For example, if a pawn is here, and if I have a knight here, and if I have a rook here, pawn will not capture the knight. Pawn will not capture the knight. Pawn can capture rook only, because as I said, pawn moves in a forward direction but captures diagonally. Okay. Okay, so that was it from my side. Thank you.